I actually just started recording this webinar, so we can also post this if you miss something or want to send it out to anybody else. We'll let the whole group of FiberConnect libraries have access to this. I guess that's it for housekeeping. If you have any questions, let me know.
Brittany, is there any hand raising in this session?
I actually don't see it on mine.
So.
I think it's in webinar. So
no, okay, I don't see it either. If everyone who is here but did not receive either one or both of those reports, would you please be sure to reply to that message that I sent you telling me which report you did not receive, so I can follow up and find out where they may have gone astray. So just to give you a sense of what you would have gotten two different reports. One of them would be a PDF file that looks like the one that I'm displaying here, and that is being displayed, isn't it, Brittany?
yeah, we can see that.
Okay, good. This really is just a look at the traffic that is both received and transmitted from each of your libraries during the month of May, just to give you a sense of how this data is being, just to give you a sense of what amount of data is being used. One thing to note about these is, let's see, I think everything is gigabyte here. The last report I saw actually had just bytes, had some that were just bytes, so that the numbers here pretty much compare across the board. Since this is really only one number for your library in this entire report, at least that's what I'm assuming that people received. If you received a PDF that doesn't look like that, would you let us know in chat? But I believe this is what everyone received. So for their PDF. If for any particular reason you want this in a more manipulatable format, I have played around with some cutting and pasting so that it can go into an Excel spreadsheet that you can sort and do things with. So feel free to drop me an email and ask me to send that along to you. I believe in a short while we will try and set up at least a web page where some of this information can be posted. The thing that we do not want to do is, even though well, I'll talk about that when we get to the other report. So, so that's one of the reports that you received. And the other report that you received eventually will look like this once you open the comma-separated values. It should automatically create each of these columns across here. The only thing that I believe I've done with this document is to use the formatting to auto-fit the column width for the entire spreadsheet, and then here I have just set the formatting so that the text wraps. So that's really, I believe, all that I've done with the CSV file. and then you can save it as an Excel file so that you have it to manipulate. But what I'd like to do, though, is to go to the Microsoft Word document that I sent you and talk about it a little bit. I know that there are a lot of numbers in the CSV, the Excel file that you received, but Kevin has given us I hope what's a pretty clear explanation of what these things are. But again, we can talk about them, or you can ask questions about them in a little bit. So you're going to see listed a client IP address. That's the address that's assigned to any wireless device when it connects to your router. It first connects to the wireless access point, and then to the router, and then the temporary IP address is assigned. You're also seeing what's called the client MAC address. This is going to be unique to every device. So if you want to look and see if any particular devices are connecting to your network on a regular basis or a repeated basis, you would go to the Excel spreadsheet and sort by the client MAC address. That may or may not be useful to you, and we'll talk about why you might want to do that in a few minutes. But the next thing, it tells you which of the wireless access points in your library has been used. So you'll know where people are connecting to your Wi-Fi, whether they're mostly in one part of your library or another. But if you have a single access point, then it's obviously going to always be the same. Okay, again, SSID is just a code that identifies your library's public wireless internet. And in the example that I have, that is library public. These are statistics for our public access points here in the Department of Libraries. So there is only one SSID, I think, for us. So anyway, let's go back to the Word document. Then you get to session duration, how long the device's session lasted. And that does become a factor in how you intend to count your wireless sessions. Let me go to the spreadsheet and show you some things that you may want to think about. The spreadsheet you receive should be ordered by session duration. And what you're seeing here, first of all, are a lot of sessions that are like 8 and 7 hours long. And you may be saying, if you see sessions that are this long on your report, you may be saying to yourself, my goodness, I don't believe anyone was actually sitting and connected to the SOV children's library access point for 8 hours. And that's where the client MAC address comes in handy, because you're going to see numbers like this, if you have staff members who have their own smartphone, or if you have staff who are connecting to the wireless network with a work computer. And from what I can tell, the Department of Libraries has a lot of smartphones in the building that are connecting to the network, because we do not have people sitting in the children's room or in the circulation area for upwards of 7 and 8 hours a day. So what I had suggested you might do to try and sort out some of this, and this is in the Word document, is that you can sort by MAC address to see if they're, first of all, the same MAC address. And I can play it doing that here. I'm just not all, I think what I'm going to do is just delete these lines right here from this spreadsheet so it will be much easier to sort. Okay, and delete. So now I can sort and say my data has headers and sort by client MAC address and say OK. So what you'll more than likely find is that this particular MAC address probably belongs to a device that a staff member is using, as does maybe not the 2B, because it's, yeah, because they're relatively short sessions. Let's see if we can find some more that have. All right, this one is probably a staff member's MAC address, or maybe a staff member's computer that's using wireless. So trying to sort out the meaningful statistics, because I think you do want to report how many members of the public came into your library and used wireless and for how long. So one of the things you would probably want to do is to sort out and to remove some of these MAC addresses that aren't actually patrons in your library. So one of the things that I've put on the Word document that you have is information about how you can find out the MAC address of any one of your actual computers that are used on Wi-Fi, so that you can make sure to remove them from your statistics. And I've given you one way to do it with a command prompt, and there are probably any number of other ways to do it that you could find by Googling, find how to find a MAC address. This is one of the ones that I found while doing that, and it seemed to be the one that was simplest. So anyway, so you want to work with the MAC addresses to identify the significant or meaningful in the data that you receive. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. Okay, the other kind of data that you may want to look at in your spreadsheet would be for sessions that were extremely short. So let me change this sorting again, so we sort by session duration. And we go to session duration, and we go, dear, these are not pure numbers, so I'm not sure. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the sort that I had before. Okay, so we've talked about the very long sessions, and now we're going to look at, if I just do this, the very short sessions. 5 minutes is not too short. Let's see. Well, in this one we don't seem to have any that are less than 5 minutes. Oh, there's the one that's 1 minute and 42 seconds. If I were looking at this, I would think it was some kind of a device that automatically connected to the wireless, but the person never clicked on the splash screen, the screen that gives them your internet policies, in order to actually get on the network. So I would say anything that's a minute or less is one that you probably wouldn't want to count, because it is just it's more than likely someone who actually never got to the internet. The other thing is that you may also want to look at the average session throughput. And anyone that is less than the 0, 1 may be someone who connected with their smartphone but never used it. So again, you're going to need to sort through these and figure out what indeed is meaningful. What I want to work on with your not so much consent, but with your telling me that you think it would be useful, is to try to put together some criteria for which you might want to determine what is a meaningful or a reportable Wi-Fi session in your library, so that you can be giving very not accurate, but statistics to your board, your town, anyone who wants to know, that really represent the use that your wireless access is getting. The bottom line is it's getting quite a bit. There's no question about that, I think. I haven't seen your individual reports, but I have seen a report that is that's a combination of all of your reports. So what I'm asking you to do is, if you would again send me an email in response to the message that I sent you, telling me, number one, if you'd like me to take a stab at identifying quote-unquote meaningful sessions for reporting purposes, and also if you have some of your own ideas about what should and should not be reported. I'm sure there's a number of you out there who know know more than I do about Wi-Fi sessions and counting them. Although the other option that I've considered, because this gets so complicated, is just count them all. And if we all count them all, then our numbers are going to be significant. Can be lined up against one another. So if you feel that's the case, certainly do feel free to express that opinion, and we'll see where we go from there. Anyway, I haven't seen any questions at this point. Is it possible no one has them? I also haven't seen anyone reporting that they failed to get either of the reports. So that's not an issue. And any of you who have your statistics in hand who want to discuss them, you know, over the phone, you should feel free to call me. I'm not sure that I'll be able to answer your questions, but I'll be happy to seek out answers for you. And okay, and these are only reporting the computers that are connected to your Wi-Fi. And was asking, can we tell the difference between Wi-Fi connections and the computers connected directly to the network? And these are only things that get onto the internet by connecting to one of those wireless access points that are on your ceiling, on a wall, or something like that. It doesn't report usage of the hardwired network. Okay. I'm not sure about, let me go back up here to, we've talked about ANs, and if I haven't answered your question fully, feel free to leave a note here and ask me to follow up with you. I'll be glad to do that. Okay. I do see that someone has not received a report, and again, that's good to have here, but if you would reply to the email that I sent you last week and tell me that you didn't receive the reports, I will look into it. All right, so someone is asking, could the session of exactly 5 minutes be timeouts from not signing the agreement? Exact numbers always seem suspicious. That's possible, but I'm not sure that that's a significant enough, I don't want to say data point, but that I would count those sessions rather than not, because I think that if those sessions, the main thing is if those sessions have throughput. I'm going to go back up to the top of the spreadsheet again. Yes, if those sessions have 5 minutes exactly and there's absolutely no throughput transmitted or received, then likely you would count them out. If you have a 5-minute session that does have at least some transmitted and received, you may want to leave those in and count them. The main thing is whatever you decide to count or not count, you'll obviously want to be consistent throughout your reporting of statistics. Again, Nick, if I haven't addressed that fully, or you have some other things that you want to discuss, feel free to to tell me, ask me to follow up in the chat. Okay. Okay, construct a report that showed usage by time of day. All right. So obviously the association time, and I'm not sure, let's see if the Word document explains that. The time at which the device connected to it, so it's when that connection is actually made. So if we're looking at that spreadsheet, it would be a sort on this data. The thing I would want to make sure before sorting on this data is to make sure that it actually is formatted as a time. So if we go to Format Cells and we look at the number, so that's right now Excel thinks it's a general format, and I'm going to I'm going to select time format and see if it turns into something that actually can be used. So 3 would be April 3rd. Let me see. 2014 at, let's see if that happens. So that should now be, that doesn't seem to have changed. I'm sorry. I'm going to try one more time to change the format of that so I know that it's in date format. Format cells, format date, and format that way, and say OK. Now, these are, I just don't see a way to get them to sort as dates because they're coming through, I believe, as plain text. Let me explore some of the ways in which you can work with this data and figure out how to get these to be understood as date formatted fields so that you can sort by day and time. And if there is anyone who's particularly interested in having that happen, do feel free to drop me an email and let me know. Not that I don't think it's a fun problem to try and solve, but if it's not a big deal to anyone other than Amy, haha, Amy Howlett, who asked the question, I will probably work on other things before I work on that. But I do think it is something important that you can do. All right. I think I have addressed everyone's questions, but I would like to give everyone a chance to weigh in. Marty has been working to plan a pretty big press release and event when we know that Manchester, the Manchester data connection has been turned on because they're the last library that we're waiting for. I don't think we won't be waiting until the moment they have their grand opening. We just will probably be waiting until it's the networking equipment gets delivered and the connection is turned on. But at that point, she would like to have a fairly large event, probably seeking out at least one of your libraries to have the event with a number of dignitaries. So as we learn more about that, we will definitely keep you in the loop. And the other thing is that we really would like to hear about ways in which the Wi-Fi is being used or information that you've been able to gather just by talking to your patrons about what they come to the library to use the Wi-Fi for. You know, if you are aware that someone is coming in because, well, they normally work at home, but because the speed of the library is so much better, they've decided to come and work there instead of working at home. Just anything that would give some sense of what the value of this service is to the patrons in your library. Maybe even just some information about that. Before we had the FiberConnect, we usually saw X number of people here with their own wireless devices, and now we see Y number of people. You know, things like that. So we will be at some point putting up a poll of some kind, but in the meantime, if you just have something general to report, we would really like to hear that, and you're welcome to send that to me by email, and I will make sure that Marty gets it. Okay. I think I have rambled on long enough about all this stuff, unless someone else has another question. This is being recorded, so we will send out to everyone that we sent the meeting to the information about how you can access the recording, so you can have other staff look at it, or anyone that you want to. Unless there are further questions, I think I'll call it quits with this right now. Okay, well, thank you very much, and we will be in touch again, and Marty will likely hold a webinar to announce the event of our celebration of FiberConnect, so she can talk to you a bit before that. But we will keep you in the loop, and you'll hear about that as soon as we have something more definite to talk about. Thank you very much. Bye now.